You won't be needing this passport anymore.
What did you do?
I did what was best for this family.
That's my scholarship. My name is on that letter.
Not anymore, it isn't.
7 years, Uncle. 7 years of pepper and tomatoes and nights I didn't sleep.
And you just erased me? You were never going anywhere, Amara.
Say that to me again in 5 years.
Amara grew up in Umuoke, a village where the biggest event of the year was the Harvest Festival, and where girls were expected to marry by 20 and disappear into someone else's kitchen. Her mother died when she was 11. Her father, a quiet mechanic, worked himself thin, trying to raise her and pay off the medical debt her mother's illness had left behind. There was no money for extra lessons, no money for new shoes, and certainly no money for dreams that stretched past the village borders. So Amara built her own. 13, she started selling pepper and tomatoes at a wooden table by the roadside before school. By 15, she'd saved enough to buy a small solar-powered freezer and started selling cold drinks to travelers on the dusty road that connected Umuoke to the nearest town. By 18, that roadside table had become a proper stall, tailoring on the side, because Amara had taught herself to sew from YouTube videos she watched on a cracked phone screen, hunched over a borrowed charging point at the only shop in the village with electricity. She didn't tell people her real plan. She let them think she liked sewing dresses for weddings. What she was actually doing was studying fashion business, textiles, international trade, anything she could find for free online. At night, after the store closed and the customers went home, her plan was simple and enormous. Get into a fashion and business program abroad, learn the industry from the inside, and come back one day with something the village had never seen. A real company, not a roadside table. It took her 6 years of saving, applying, getting rejected, reapplying and saving again. 6 years of quiet, invisible work, while cousins her age were posting about parties and boyfriends. Nobody in her family took it seriously, except one person. Her uncle, Chief Okonkwo Eze, her late mother's older brother, took a very different kind of interest. Not in her dream, in what her dream might one day be worth. Uncle Okonkwo was the wealthiest man in the extended family, or at least he wanted everyone to believe that. In reality, his money came in waves, good when a contract landed, desperate when it didn't. What never changed was his daughter, Chiamaka. Chiamaka was raised like royalty in a family that could barely afford royalty. New phones every year, designer clothes bought on credit, a university degree her father paid 3 different agents to help her barely pass. She was beautiful, loud, and completely convinced the world owed her a spotlight. She hated that Amara, quiet, poor, just a village trader, was the one who'd actually earned a spot in a competitive overseas fashion and business program. Complete with a partial scholarship Amara had fought for through 3 rounds of interviews. Amaka had applied to the exact same program a year earlier. She'd been rejected. She's going to embarrass us, Chiamaka told her father one night. Pacing his study, a girl who sells pepper by the road, going overseas to study fashion. Meanwhile, I have an actual degree, and I'm sitting here doing nothing. Okonkwo said nothing for a long moment. Then he set down his glass and asked the question that started everything. What documents does she have that we could borrow? 2 weeks before Amara's flight, Uncle Okonkwo called her aside, not the whole family. Just her, alone in his compound. His voice was warm, almost fatherly. There's a problem with the paperwork, he said, holding out his hand. Something at the consulate. I know people. Let me handle it before it delays your flight. Amara didn't hesitate. Why would she? He was her mother's brother. She handed over her passport, her admission letter, and the bank statement she'd bled 7 years of pepper money to build. He smiled. Trust me. That was the last time Amara ever would. What happened next took 11 days. Okonkwo paid a corrupt visa agent he'd used once before for a business favor. A man named Effiong, who worked the back door of a busy consulate office and knew exactly which forms nobody double-checked. Together, they altered the admission file, swapping identification details, drafting a forged correction letter, and quietly rerouting the scholarship placement paperwork onto Chiamaka's name, using Amara's own financial documents as the backing proof, because Chiamaka had none strong enough to pass alone. By the time the school's admissions office noticed anything unusual, the file had already been buried under 3 layers of processing corrections and one small bribe that made the questions stop. 3 days before her flight, Amara was called to the family compound. She expected a send-off. Instead, she found her uncle sitting calmly and Chiamaka standing behind him with her arms crossed, already smiling. This was the moment, the one you saw at the very start. Passport in his pocket, the suitcase at her feet, the words that would follow her for 5 years. There's been a clerical issue, Okonkwo said. The scholarship board only allows 1 recipient per household documentation set. Since Chiamaka applied first, technically, she was rejected, Amara said. I have the email. Things changed, he said simply. Amara called the school that night. The line disconnected twice. She called Effiong's number, the one she'd seen scribbled on her uncle's desk. It didn't exist anymore. Every door she pushed had already been quietly locked from the other side, days before she even knew there was a door to worry about. Uncle Okonkwo got ahead of the story before Amara could tell her own version. By the time she arrived at the family meeting he'd called, the room had already decided who she was. She tried to falsify her own documents, he told the room, shaking his head with practiced sorrow. The school flagged it. Fraud. I only found out when I tried to help her fix it. Thank God Chiamaka's placement was legitimate, or this family would be disgraced. It was almost funny in the cruelest way. The forger accused the forged against of forgery. That's not true, Amara said, her voice shaking. He took my documents. He changed them. Watch how you speak to your uncle, an aunt snapped. Amara looked at her father. He was the one person who might believe her. His eyes were tired, torn, outnumbered. Papa, she said quietly, tell them. He looked at his shoes. Let's not fight in front of everyone. That silence was louder than anything Okonkwo had said all night. Within a week, Amara went from the hard-working girl who might make it out to the liar who tried to steal her cousin's future. Neighbors who used to buy from her stall started avoiding her. Aunties who once praised her diligence now shook their heads when she passed, as if she was something contagious. Chiamaka left for the program 3 weeks later than planned, flaunting the delay as if it had never happened, posting airport photos captioned, "Finally living my dream." Mara stood in the market that same afternoon, watching people who had known her since birth look through her like she was already gone. She didn't leave the country. She left the village. With the small savings she'd hidden separately from the scholarship funds, money from tailoring jobs her uncle never knew about, Amara took a bus to the city with 1 bag and no plan beyond surviving the first week. She rented a single room she shared with 2 other women, took a job folding fabric at a textile market stall by day, and sewed custom pieces by lamplight at night, her hands moving from muscle memory even when her mind was too exhausted to think. She had no family goodwill, no reputation, and technically, no documents left in her name that hadn't been tampered with in some file somewhere. What she had was 7 years of self-taught skill, an instinct for what people wanted to wear, and a chip on her shoulder the size of Umoki itself. She started small, altering clothes for market traders, then making pieces for their daughters' weddings, then finally landing a commission from a mid-tier boutique owner who noticed her stitching was cleaner and more original than anything else on the rack. It took 2 years of grinding invisibility before our first real break. A local influencer wore one of Amara's designs to an event, and the photo traveled further than either of them expected. Orders started coming in faster than Amara could fill them alone. She hired at first 2 seamstresses, then 4, then 10. She named the label after the one thing nobody could steal from her. Her own name, restructured into something new. Mara Noir, overseas. Year 2, Chiamaka sat in the back of a lecture hall, scrolling through comments on a photo she'd posted the night before. Standing in front of a rented convertible she didn't own for the shoot. A classmate leaned over. "You missed the deadline for the group project. Professor Whitfield's asking where you were. Tell him I had a family emergency." Chiamaka whispered back, not looking up from her phone. It wasn't the first excuse. It wouldn't be the last. Charm had carried her through the first year, smiling at the right professors, borrowing notes she never returned, letting classmates cover for her because she was going through a lot. But Charm doesn't write essays, and by her second year, the excuses had a paper trail nobody wanted to keep signing off on. The letter came on a Tuesday. Academic probation. She read it twice, then called her father. "Papa, I need you to send more this month. Things are tight." On the other end of the line, Okonkwo sat in his study, staring at a stack of his own unpaid invoices. Contracts he'd been counting on had fallen through the week before. He didn't tell her that. "I'll find something," he said, the way he always did. Back in Umoke, same week, Amara sat cross-legged on the floor of her rented room, a single overhead bulb buzzing above her, hand-stitching a hem by feel because the sewing machine's foot pedal had broken again, and she couldn't afford a new one until the week's orders were paid. Her phone buzzed, a market trader asking if the dress would be ready by Friday. "It'll be ready," Amara typed back, even though she had no idea yet how it would be ready. It always was. That was the difference nobody in her family had bothered to notice. Not the roadside table, not the pepper, not the 6 years of quiet studying. The difference was that when things got hard, Amara didn't call anyone to fix it for her. She just stayed up later. Overseas. Year 3, 6 months later. The scholarship board's letter to Chiamaka was short. Funding was contingent on maintained academic standing. Standing not maintained. Funding withdrawn. Effective immediately. Chiamaka called her father in tears. Okonkwo, already drowning in debts he'd taken to keep funding her lifestyle, had nothing left to send. She withdrew from the program quietly, took a stockroom job at a discount clothing outlet just to make rent, and stopped posting the glamorous captions altogether. To the family back home, she said only that she was taking a break to build international connections. Nobody back home questioned it. They were too busy by then, hearing a different rumor. One about a market woman in the city who swore she'd seen that pepper seller girl's face in a fashion magazine. Nobody believed it. It didn't fit the story they'd chosen. 5 years after Amara left, Mara Noir had grown from a single sewing table into a boutique fashion house with a flagship store in the capital. Private clients that included 2 actresses and a senator's wife, and a growing export line reaching buyers abroad. The same overseas market she'd once been robbed of the chance to study in, now coming to her instead. Uncle Okonkwo's fortunes had done the opposite. The contracts he depended on had dried up one by one. A former business partner exposed one of his shadier deals publicly, costing him what little credibility he had left. The loans he'd taken against his own house to keep funding Chiamaka's overseas lifestyle long after the scholarship was gone had finally caught up with him. The bank sent notice, pay or lose the property. It was Amara's own father who came to her, hat literally in his hands, ashamed and heartbroken, not to ask forgiveness on Okonkwo's behalf, but simply to tell her the truth. "He's going to lose the house, Amara. I know what he did to you. I should have said something that night. I've carried that shame for 5 years." He paused. "He's going to come to you. I wanted you to hear it from me first, not from him." Amara said nothing for a long moment. Then, "Thank you for telling me the truth." 5 years late is still the truth. A week later, Uncle Okonkwo walked into the Mara Noir flagship store himself. in his best remaining suit, and asked the receptionist if he could see his niece. The same man who once said she'd never go anywhere now stood in the lobby of the company built from everything he tried to take from her. Here's the twist that changes everything, and it starts with paperwork. The same weapon Okonkwo once used against her. While trademarking Mara Noir internationally, Amara's lawyer requested her original birth and family records to untangle the old forged consulate file once and for all. Buried in a government archive nobody had opened in decades, the legal team found something even Okonkwo never knew. The small plot of land Amara's father lived on wasn't shared family land as everyone had always assumed. It had been formally willed to Amara's mother, alone, in a filing so old it had been forgotten by everyone except a dusty archive drawer. And attached to that land was a mineral rights lease, signed decades earlier, that had recently gone active again due to new developments nearby, meaning royalty payments were now legally owed. Owed to Amara's father, not to Okonkwo, never to Okonkwo. But Okonkwo had been quietly benefiting from that land for years anyway. Informal family arrangements, no signatures, no courts ever involved, just an older brother-in-law assuming a widower, and his daughter wouldn't know better. He forged documents to take something from me, Amara told her lawyer when she heard. And the documents he never bothered to check were the ones that would have exposed him first. She sat with that for a long time before deciding what to do with it. Amara agreed to see him. Not in a private office, in the open lobby, in view of staff, a few waiting clients, and because fate has a sense of humor, a journalist who'd arrived early for an unrelated interview. Okonkwo walked in already talking, the way he always did when he needed something. Amara, my daughter, look at this place. I always knew you had it in you. He tried a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Family should help family. I need a loan. The house. Sit down, uncle. Something in her voice made him stop mid-sentence. He sat. Amara didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. She slid a folder across the table. The land filing, the royalty documents, 5 years of quiet payments he'd taken from property that was never legally his. His face changed in stages. Confusion, recognition, then something close to fear. I didn't, he started. You did, Amara said, for 5 years, while telling everyone I was the liar in this family. The lobby had gone very quiet. Even the journalist had lowered her phone. Okonkwo's mouth opened and closed. For the first time in her life, Amara watched the man who'd once decided her entire future with one sentence have absolutely nothing to say. She let the silence sit. Then she spoke again, slower this time. I could take this to court. I could take your house the way you tried to take my entire future. Everyone in this lobby right now would understand if I did. He didn't argue. He couldn't. But I'm not going to. Chiamaka, who had quietly returned home months earlier and slipped into the lobby unnoticed, stood frozen near the entrance, watching. I'll cover enough of the defaulted loan to keep the house, Amara continued, on one condition. You sign a full legal correction, on record, returning the land rights to my father, and stating in writing what actually happened 5 years ago, not for an apology. I stopped needing one of those a long time ago. I'm doing this for my father, who still has to live in that town after both of us are gone from it. She stood. I'm not doing this for you, she said quietly. I'm doing this because unlike you, I don't need to destroy someone completely to prove I won. Okonkwo sat in the chair for a long moment after she walked away, saying nothing, because for once there was nothing left to say. Across the lobby, Chiamaka finally met her cousin's eyes and looked away first. Mara Noir went on to open a design academy in the very region Amara grew up in. Free tuition for girls who showed promise, but no money, no connections, and no family willing to believe in them. Admission required nothing but talent and effort, unlike the opportunity that had once been stolen from her through paperwork and lies. Her father, finally proud in a way he'd been too afraid to be years earlier, often sat quietly at the back of her fashion shows, watching his daughter greet clients who once wouldn't have known her name. Okonkwo signed the correction. He kept the house, technically, but never again the respect he'd once demanded from a room. Chiamaka eventually found quiet, unremarkable work far from any spotlight, and rarely spoke of the years she'd spent pretending a stolen opportunity was a well-earned one. Amara never got a formal apology from most of her family. She stopped waiting for one. What she got instead was better, proof that the people who try to erase you often end up building the very stage you'll one day stand on to prove them wrong. They forged her name once to take everything from her. In the end, it was her real name, the one she never stopped fighting for, that ended up on storefronts, magazine covers, and a legal document that finally set the record straight. If you believe karma doesn't need to shout to be heard, let me know in the comments. And if you've ever had to leave people behind to become who you were meant to be, you already know exactly how Amara felt.